Hi, and welcome to this live reading from Swipe Right to Bite, New Orleans Nocturnes, Book 6 by Carrie Pulkinen, and this is presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Chapter 1. Satan's balls on a silver platter. Katrina O'Leary stopped in the shade of a 19th century two-story and refreshed the page on her phone. This has to be a glitch. What's wrong? Jasmine, her necromancer BFF, wiped a bead of sweat from her forehead. The late afternoon sun hadn't sunk far enough behind the buildings to provide relief from the sweltering heat. But Katrina didn't notice. She ground her teeth and hit refresh again. Come on, you sorry piece of Cerberus shit. Holy hellhounds, that's some big shit, Jasmine laughed. Come inside, I'm melting out here. She gripped Katrina's arm and tugged her into the Tipsy Leprechaun, a bar for supes on Frenchman Street. They have the most glorious AC. Sit. Talk. One good thing about being born in the bowels of hell, New Orleans' hot and humid weather didn't faze a demon. Katrina slid into a seat at the bar and turned off her phone. Maybe a reboot would fix the glitch. Colorful bottles containing every liquor known to man, including a few potions reserved for supes only, lined the shelves behind the counter, and a small stage across the room stood empty, a jukebox filling the air with music as they waited for the band to arrive. Good afternoon, ladies. The bartender, a warlock with dark hair and colorful tattoos, grinned as he approached. What can I get for you? A bead of amber, please, Jasmine said. Whiskey, neat. Katrina held the man's gaze, and his jaw fell slack. Please. She turned her phone on and stared at the screen, willing the damn thing to hurry up and start already. Jasmine leaned toward her and whispered, Your demon is showing. Christ on a cracker, shoo! Go get our drinks! She made a go-away motion with her hand, and the man blinked, returning to his senses. Inhaling deeply, she reined in her succubus magic. Demons never revealed their powers, though Katrina's were hard to hide. She wasn't a shapeshifter, but when her demon was showing, she looked like the hottest exotic dancer to grace the most upscale strip club with her presence. And not one of the opening acts either. She'd be the main attraction. She was the main attraction back in the day, having the power to turn men and women into drooling idiots by simply being in the room with them made stripping a lucrative business. It was fun for a while, but it was also way too tempting. Katrina was a succubus for Satan's sake. She loved sex. But she was fasting for her freedom. Under Satan's command, she was supposed to ruin men, break up marriages, poison their minds, and she did for quite a while. She was the devil's favorite succubus in more ways than one. In fact, the reason she was even allowed to live topside was that she was banned from hell when the idiot's girlfriend caught him with his head between Katrina's legs. After spending 150 years with humans, she'd grown fond of them, and she no longer wished to ruin them. She was a succubus with a conscience. Go figure. But she had the urges ingrained in her psyche. Sex with humans or supes could still ruin them, whether she wanted it to or not, so she abstained as much as possible. Sure, she had a slip-up every decade or so, but she didn't do it on purpose. She wanted to be out from under Satan's rule, and as long as she stayed celibate, the devil would forget about her eventually. Once he did, she'd be free. The urges to destroy men would cease, and she could live a normal life. Other demons had won their freedom. Why not her? Returning to her soccer mom guise, she took a long sip of whiskey, closing her eyes and focusing on the gentle burn cascading down her throat. That's better. Her phone's home screen finally lit up, and she opened the back end of Swipe Right to Bite, her online dating app, which she'd used most of her life savings to build. If she couldn't get this glitch fixed, she'd be out a shit ton of cash. Fuck me with a jackhammer. Are you going to tell me what's up, or should I guess? Jasmine asked. 32 men canceled their subscriptions in one day. In one day! She closed the app and turned her phone over to the counter. Why would they do that? Jasmine sipped her beer, looking thoughtful. Not enough hot women on the app? No, that's not it. All the filters are included with their subscriptions. Hell's bells, they don't even have to make an effort. The app will put makeup on them, shave someone, or even give them a beard. It'll crop out their boring backgrounds and put them on the beach. There is no excuse for looking average on my app. Maybe that's the problem. They're expecting to meet a 10, but a 4 shows up to their date. Katrina scoffed. If people are stupid enough to think everyone looks as good in person as they do on social media, they deserve disappointment. Jasmine lifted her hands. I'm just saying there's more to relationships than looking good. It's a hookup app, Jazz. People don't use it to find relationships. They use it to get laid. It was the perfect setup for a fasting succubus. If she couldn't enjoy her own romps between the sheets, at least she could help others have a little fun. Sex was therapeutic. It relieved stress. It made people release all kinds of feel-good hormones. And her app enabled supes who weren't in relationships to fill their need for intimacy, no strings attached. If a hookup turned into something more, good for them. If it didn't, no harm done. This was the 21st century. It was time to shatter the Puritan stigma that sex was bad. Katrina had spent most of her existence destroying people. Now she could atone for her sins and help people learn to enjoy the act for what it was. A mutual good time. Emphasis on the mutual. Let me send a quick email to my app developer, and then I promise we'll have our girl time. Fighting the urge to write in all caps, she asked Antoine to include a second "Are you sure?" screen when someone tried to deactivate their account, warning them all their potential matches would be gone forever if they canceled. Maybe a little FOMO would help with client retention. There. She slipped her phone into her purse. How are things in Reaperland? You're drinking beer, so I assume it's not happening in the baby death department. Jasmine laughed. We're taking a few years for ourselves before we start adding to the Reaper population. Now that I don't age, we all have all the time in the world. Lucky you. Katrina smiled as a tall, dark, and delicious gator shifter approached the bar to order a drink. Well, hello, handsome. She shouldn't have, but she couldn't help herself. The man was scrumptious, and she let her guys slip ever so slightly, just enough to catch his attention. His eyes glazed for a moment before he blinked and flashed a cocky grin. Hey there, beautiful. Can I buy you a drink? He sidled up right next to her and brushed a finger over the back of her hand. If he wasn't currently under the influence of succubus magic, that would have been a creepy move. She could forgive him, though. He truly couldn't help himself around her. Jasmine cleared her throat. I thought you were trying to win your freedom. Katrina gave her the stink eye before turning to the shifter. She could screw him 6 ways to Sunday, make him forget his own name, and enjoy every delectable second of it. But Jasmine was right. Annoying, but right. Thanks, hon, but I can buy my own drinks. She winked, breaking her spell, and turned toward her friend. Bitch, the shifter grumbled. Katrina straightened, ready to tell the alpha hole off, but Jasmine caught her arm and shook her head as Crocodile Dundee skulked away with his drink. How dare he? Just because a woman declines a man's drink offer, it does not mean she's a bitch. It means she has taste. She shouted the last part over her shoulder, but Gator Dick was already across the room. And just because you're a succubus, it doesn't mean you should put every attractive man you meet under your spell. I wasn't going to do anything with him. You have no idea how difficult it is to be this fabulous and not flaunt it. It's nice to know I've still got it. And one day she'd be able to use it without destroying the object of her affections. You said you were fasting for your freedom. Yeah? Fasting means no snacks. She pursed her lips and glared at her friend. It was just a little nibble. And nibbles lead to bites, which lead to full-blown meals. I have it under control, says every addict. Oh, fine, I'll behave. Her friend was annoyingly right again. No demon truly had their magical urges under control, not even the ones who'd won their freedom. It was why those who lived topside with immortals were required to attend weekly Hellions Anonymous meetings. Katrina, of all demons, should know how easy it was for a Hellion to slip. She was the coordinator of the New Orleans HA chapter. And, okay, yes, she'd slipped a time or 7. It happened. That was one of the reasons she started her dating app. She could do what she loved from a distance. Thanks for keeping me in check. She polished off her whiskey and tapped the bar to get the warlock's attention. Another round, please. That's what friends are for, Jasmine said. A band took to the small stage and started their set with an Ed Sheeran cover. Not a bad choice. Katrina did have a thing for the pasty ginger type. To be honest, she had a thing for all types, but whatever. Though it was daylight outside, the club owners had painted all the windows black, and shaded lights cast a smoky haze over the bar. The door on Frenchman Street was always locked, the actual entrance to the Tipsy Leprechaun hidden in the alley. Most of the human world didn't know supes existed. The higher-ups in government and law enforcement knew, which was why Hellions Anonymous was a thing, but they held their knowledge in the strictest confidence. Humans would shit a brick if they knew actual demons and vampires and shifters lived among them. Looks like we weren't the only ones with Tuesday happy hour on the brain. Crimson, the high priestess of the New Orleans witch coven, sashayed toward them. Her black hair spiraled down to her shoulders, and winged eyeliner accented her dark brown eyes. Hey, Jasmine. Hi, Katrina. Sophie, a red wolf shifter with blonde hair and blue eyes, smiled at them before flagging down the bartender and ordering drinks. Have you met the new demon in town? I hear he's a hottie. Katrina straightened, giving Sophie her full attention. No, I have not. Tell me more. Demons were required to register with her and attend HA meetings as part of their treaty with the humans. They all knew that. So this guy was either avoiding or just passing through, and Satan help her, he'd better be just passing through. Otherwise, she'd have to hunt him down, which would be such a pain. He's staying at Gaston's B&B. I think he's running some sort of counseling retreat or lecture series or something. What kind of counseling? And in hell's name could a demon help people with? They were all rotten to their cores no matter how nice they tried to be. Sophie puffed her cheeks as she blew out a breath. I'd have to ask Jane. She's the one who told me about him, but I want to say it had something to do with relationships or intimacy or something. His name is Gabe, if that helps. Are you talking about the emotional intimacy lectures? The bartenders set their drinks on the counter, a glass of Chardonnay for Sophie and a vodka sour for Crimson. That's what it was. Thank you. Sophie grabbed her wine and took a sip. He stopped by last weekend and dropped off some flyers. Here. He grabbed one from the end of the bar and handed it to Katrina. Son of a bloodsucker. Her mouth fell open as she read the page. Mastering emotional intimacy with Gabriel Dakota. Get off the dating apps and focus on finding true love. Get off the apps. This fucking fiend is here to ruin me. Her blood boiled, her anger making her soccer mom guise dissolve faster than a sugar cube in absinthe. He found me. Shit, he found me. Katrina. Crimson put her hand on Katrina's waist, and calming magic tingled across her skin, reminding her to breathe. She cracked her neck and glanced toward the dance floor where people were grinding on each other in groups of 3 and 4. If she didn't get herself under control, the entire club would turn into a giant orgy. Not that it wouldn't be a fun time for all, but still. Hit me with your magic again, Crimson. Crimson held both her hands and whispered a spell that reduced her panicky anger to ash. Are you okay now? Katrina swept her gaze across the room. People were scratching their heads and looking confused as all get out, but the sexual energy had died down to a simmer. Yes, thanks for that. It's hard to keep my demon in check when my anger gets away from me. Who found you, hun? Sophie asked. Satan, of course, and he sent this Gabriel to torment me. Fucking demons named after angels, that always spells trouble. Hey now, Crimson's brow edged toward her hairline. Her husband was a demon named Mike, a.k.a. Michael. I found a good one. Yes, you did, she spiked her voice with sarcasm. And he didn't cause you any trouble at all, did he? Crimson narrowed her eyes. I see your point. Sophie slid onto the stool next to her. I thought all the demons who lived topside had won their freedom from the devil. Most of them have, but I'm in hiding. Succubi don't have a 24/7 magical connection to Satan like other demons do, so I took a chance after I was banished to New York and came here. He's left me alone for the past century, so I figured he didn't know where I was. Apparently, he found me. Maybe not, Jasmine said. Maybe Gabriel is a recovering demon who's trying to atone for his sins like you are? Psh, not likely. He's one of Satan's minions here to make my life on Earth a living hell, so I'll come crawling back. Well, it's not going to happen. She hopped off her stool and marched to the end of the bar to swipe the rest of the flyers. No way in all of Satan's realm was she going to allow this nonsense to be advertised. And it was utter nonsense. "Look at this," she said as she returned to her seat. "He says you should learn to be intimate without sex." How ridiculous is that? Sexual intimacy is the only kind of intimacy. Satan's off his rocker. Nobody's going to fall for this. And yet they had, hadn't they? This so-called lecture series was the only explanation as to why so many men would cancel their accounts on her app. Not to mention the mass exodus happened right after his all-male class yesterday evening. Sophie's lips puckered. "You've never been in love, have you?" Katrina forced a dry laugh. "Succubi under Satan's control can't fall in love. Neither can incubi, for that matter. We're sex demons. We don't have the capacity for romantic love." Jasmine tilted her head. "Can't fall in love or choose not to?" "Well, I've never heard of one falling in love." And she couldn't begin to fathom what it would be like. Her range of emotions was limited to horny, satiated, pleased, and mad as hell. She arranged the flyers, tapping them on the bar to even out the stack. "There's no sex demon manual, and the idea of monogamy sounds so foreign to me I can't imagine it being possible. She'd like it to be. Her friends seemed to enjoy it, but as long as Satan held her under his thumb, it wouldn't be happening for her." Jasmine shrugged. "Yeah, well, most reapers aren't capable of falling in love, yet I happened to find one who was. If it's possible, I'm not one of them, and that's not even the point. The point is that Satan sent this man here to ruin me, and I'm not going to let that happen." Gripping the flyers in both hands, she ripped them in half, restacked them, and tore them in two again. Yay for demon strength. "What are you going to do?" Crimson asked. Katrina held up a shredded piece of the flyer and pointed to the date. "I'm going to ruin him first."